And a second. Second by Donna. And then all those in favor of adopting those minutes? That carries 4-0. And now I'll turn it over to Carl.
First one has to do with an amendment to our home American Rescue Plan One Patient Plan.
Nothing's coming through. Carl, if you could make sure your microphone is turned on. I could hear the mayor just fine.
All right. Any discussion on this?
Just to, the good news is we got a little bit more money than was previously allocated. Again, it was an error by HUD. This is, you remember, this is, well, you may not remember, this was in March of 23. The initial funds was accepted by the agency. So instead of the 1.212 rounding up $1 million, we're getting $1.213 million. I don't know if Anissa or else want to say more about this. Because the amount is less than the threshold, there's not a need for a public comment period, so we can move ahead and then adopt this resolution to accept the amount, the extra amount.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've summarized it perfectly. HUD has made a minor error like this in the past with regular entitlement funding, but it does require us to go into the year's action plan to which it applies and make a minor amendment. So I've already contacted our field office to ask that they open up that action plan so I can do that today, but it looks like they won't be able to do that till next week. So it just requires some administrative work on our part to add it into the allocation plan. We are directing these funds to supportive services and admin because the other use for the funds, which is capacity building, is already at its cap.
And we've contracted with Reach as a major service provider for this program, and also the 211 program for intake processing and qualifying eligible households for the services. So it's going to get rolling quite soon now in terms of rolling out into the community.
Proud of me.
Oh, out of me too. Sorry about that.
Welcome.
You're traveling.
I thought you still might be traveling, so we didn't expect you today. Yes, and I can talk more about that if you like, but just in general, the two agencies that Nels mentioned have staffed up for this project, and I'm meeting with 211's the point person for 211 referrals this afternoon with Liddy Barger. So I can tell you more about that later if you're interested.
And so you said this has happened with HUD on occasion, but obviously now that we have so much more government efficiency, it'll probably never happen again.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your.
Don't even worry. I was just being snarky.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of efficiency going around.
Donna, please.
Why are Reach and 211 not named in the resolution? It's generic about supportive services.
Because in the allocation plan that we create, so HUD is requiring us to change our allocation plan. The allocation plan, as you might recall, was a framework that only discussed where the funding was being designated to supportive services. At that point, 211 and Reach had not been identified as service providers.
Well, and one more point there is we identified funding agreements with them with certain dollar amounts. So there's an extra $1,400 now that we'll need to allocate at some point, but it's not included in those original contracts.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those prepared to vote, move in favor. That
wasn't here for the discussion.
Sure. So that's 4 in favor, all those opposed, and with an abstention from Cheyenne, we will pass that 4-2. I think procedurally it's still technically 4-1, right? But that's fine.
We have 3.
Right. All right, then, yeah, Carl, your next item.
Before I move to the next item, I'll just note that even though Cheyenne is the committee chairperson, she was not at our meeting, so therefore I'm representing the business of the committee. Okay. So our next resolution is on page 10 of our electronic agenda. is designation for 2025 of Historic Ithaca Incorporated as a community-based development organization. There are some advantages for having that designation. The primary advantage for the agencies that apply for this designation is there's an exemption from the 15% funding cap that otherwise would apply to public service grant recipients. Staff, there are tests that have to be met, and staff has determined that the agency meets those tests. So therefore, we're recommending that, again, Historic Ithaca be designated as a community-based development organization. And this is actually a re-designation. They've been one for a number of years. I don't even know how many. And it's for the job placement program that they run for some of the most vulnerable folks in our community. This is a program and an organization that we've supported for a number of years. So I would like to move the resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Donna. Further discussion on this? Seeing none. All those in favor? That carries 5-0.
Okay. Continuing on, a few pages further down in our resolution, starting on page 15, is another resolution designating Greater Ithaca Activities Center Incorporated as a community-based development organization. Again, their job placement program, hospitality employment training program, there's a placement component of that, which is a requirement. Can't just be training, it has to be a job placement. Staff has determined that Jack Inc. Meets all the requirements for this designation. And as with Historic Ithaca, this is a re-designation, even though they have to apply every year. So it actually is a new designation each year, but they've received this designation for many years. So the committee recommends that the agency grant the designation. So I'd like to move this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Donna. And any discussion on this? Seeing none. All right. All those in favor? And that carries 5-0. And then Carl, is it correct that you'll also be delivering the chairperson's report because of?
Yes, but
Okay.
there is none unless.
Oh, okay.
Diane has
Easy.
anything.
All right. Groovy. All right. Moving on, we have a request from the Farmers Market Cooperative for rent deferment. Let's take that resolution first. So I will move that, summarizing here that we've received a request from them for deferment of rent until December 1st. And the relevant resolves are that the IURA would hereby approve the Farmers Market Cooperative's deferral on rent, 2025 rent due on Steamboat Landing until December 1st of 2025, when all deferred rent will be due and payable, and be it further resolved that the Director of Community Development is authorized to implement this resolution through a letter agreement amending the lease to implement this resolution. I need a second. Seconded by Donna, and then I can invite up Monica for any. Oh, great. Oh, I see on the, okay.
Good morning. Hi. Good morning. How are you? I'm Monica Roth, and I am the president of the Friends of the Farmers Market. So we've been the subrecipient. The city is the recipient of our grant award for parking lot improvements. We're the subrecipient, and the Friends has been managing the grant contract. And as Nels and Rob and others know, I've been looking for money under a rock for months, trying to find enough to pay bills. And so there's really two issues. One is we have a project budget, and that's moving along. It means we're paying bills to the contractors. We've paid all our bills. A few I've had to hold back a little money and pay them the next month. And then we've had to get a big loan to pay those bills because the state reimburses it, as we invoice them. So, and that's a 6-month delay to get state money. So we've submitted 4 invoices to the state. I'm very happy to announce that just literally the day before, we got our second installment on the reimbursement request. So we did get $560,000, which will make it possible for us to pay the final construction bills. But that doesn't, there's an operating expense that we've also been dealing with. And I don't know, Jan, if you want to mention that. The operating budget for the farmer's market is operating separate from this project. So there's not really any mishmash between the money coming in for the loan, which pays the construction only. It doesn't pay any operating of the market. So, and the operating budget is managed through the farmer's market, not the Friends of the Farmer's Market.
I think most of you know the
Sound is-
market well from.
Jen, can you hear us? Because your sound is not working.
Oh, dear.
Jan is the president of the farmer's market.
Is that any better?
Still can't hear her.
Yeah, we still can't hear you, unfortunately.
I can hear her. Can you guys hear me? No.
It seems like they're.
Hmm. So nobody still can't hear me?
I don't know what I'm talking about, but could it be like that white panel that they sometimes mess with for the, yeah.
In the waiting room.
There was somebody else who was speaking too that you couldn't hear.
Oh,
That's Charles who was speaking.
we can hear you
Okay.
all now.
Okay,
Okay, it was something technical. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but
sounds like modern life. Yeah. Well, I think that that most of you do know the market. We've been to you over the years for so many different things, and you know that market's budget is a very tight budget. There is unfortunately never any loose money laying around. We bring in from vendor fees what our costs are, and this has definitely been the most challenging time for us to try to lay out money that we, and then having to borrow money and wait for reimbursement. So if there was ever a time that the IURA, who has always been incredibly